Today, I want to talk about the unspoken Armenian Genocide and the persecuted Christians in the Middle East. And this is something that I feel like is not spoken about nearly enough as it should be. I feel like more Christian pastors, more Christian leaders, whether you're a content creator, evangelist, should talk about these things, but it's not something that's spoken about nearly as much as it should be. Um, and much worse than that, I mean, the global coverage that we have on our news today, they talk about everything else in the world. They'll talk about Israel, they'll talk about Hamas, they'll talk about Palestine, they'll talk about Ukraine and Russia. But what about the persecuted Christians? I mean, people want to have this like long age debate of whether the land in Israel belongs to, Palestine or Israel or the Jews or the Christians. But what about us, the Christians? Literally, what about us? We're the most persecuted religion in the world. Jews and Muslims are nowhere near as persecuted as Christians are. Neither is the alphabet community. So this isn't a competition to say, "Oh, look at us." But it's more like saying like actually look at the fact that we are more persecuted than you guys, but yet there's the least coverage on us. And in fact, it's so bad that people actually see us as oppressors somehow when we're not, but we're seen as oppressors. We're kind of like criminalized or evil, seen as evil in the Western world. Like we're these, oppressors that came from the white European Spaniard man religion, and that we hate anybody who's not white, and that we oppress everybody. When literally it's quite the contrary, guys. Christianity is one of the only religions that actually isn't a white man's religion or quote unquote Edomite religion, right? Like literally Christianity came from people that were colored, you know? And salvation is for everybody, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're Hispanic or black. But my point is, it's like the claims that people falsely assert against Christianity are just simply untrue. And then the fact that we get the least coverage is just so terrible. We're the most persecuted religion. We're not the oppressors, guys. We're the persecuted religion in the whole world. It's really, really, really sad. And that's the reason why Islam is the quote unquote fastest growing religion, because they're persecuting our brethren in Christ all throughout Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. It's so sad, guys. It's really so sad. We're getting persecuted for our faith. And so whenever you look at things that people aren't talking about, this is just the reality of the world that we live in. I know that we're used to living in the Western world for a lot of my viewers, not everybody. And we're just used to this comfort of just, being able to do whatever we want. But this isn't the reality for our brethren in Christ around the world. So guys, these are literally like a lot of Armenians, like literally on the streets parading the fact that they overcame the Ottoman Turk Empire. But it's so sad because, guys, I don't think you guys realize how close this was to us. Like literally just 100 years ago in 1915, literally, guys, we had the Armenian Genocide, where 1.5 million Armenians were slaughtered for their faith by the Ottoman Empire. People look at the Ottoman Empire and the genocides of the Christian persecuted community like it's like some recent fable tale, that happened like, thousands of years ago in like 2000 BC or something. No, this is recent stuff, guys. This happened like literally just 100 years ago and less. Like our brothers and sisters in Christ were recently persecuted and are still being persecuted till this day. Like they're literally being persecuted for not following Islam. You guys know how sad that is? And then nobody's speaking up about this stuff. But everybody wants to talk about Ukraine, and everyone wants to talk about Israel, Hamas, Palestine, and Russia. Look at this. Researchers, Turkey's Greek, Armenian, and Assyrian Christians destroyed by 30-year genocide by Muslims, continuing to deny these atrocities, particularly at a time when Christians are being persecuted and slaughtered across the world, is disgusting. I'll complete the sentence for you. 1.5 million Armenians were butchered by the Turks in 1915 for their faith in Jesus Christ. 1.5 million, guys. You guys know how big of a population that is? I think that's like over like 10% of the Armenian population today. 1.5 million, guys. That's over 50% of their current day population. That's crazy. And if you guys don't know, the way populations typically grow, especially when they're smaller like that, is they typically grow in a continuous cycle where they slowly, gradually increase. So their population today of only 2.78 Armenians would probably be a lot higher. It'd probably be somewhere north of like 5-10 million. So it's very, very sad because they were slaughtered for their faith. But this is the reality of Islam and what it has done to this world, guys. Islam wants to go ahead and oppress the whole world because they feel like it, because they're quote unquote the religion of peace and all this land is theirs. You guys want to know what's interesting? I know everyone and their mother wants to talk about, oh, look at Islam and look how oppressed they are. And oh, you know, their land is actually Israel's and the Jews stole it from them in 1945. Well, guess what? I have something more ancient than that because I don't believe the Israelites obviously stole the land from the Muslims. But I have something more ancient than that, guys. I'm talking about first AD, like the time of Jesus Christ, right? All this time before that, the Jews and the Christians, they lived here, especially the Christians. All of this belonged to the Christians. Bulgaria, Turkey, Greece, Iraq, Iran, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Russia. These were all Christian nations, guys. And now look at what most of them are today. Muslim, 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 Muslim. Wow, that's crazy, guys. But yet we're somehow the oppressors and they're somehow the victims. Everyone and their mother is Islamophobic, but no one is Christian phobic. How does that work, guys? So sad because as you guys can see here, it states Susan de Kirkour, a 60-year-old Armenian Christian woman living in Syria, was raped by radical Islamic jihadists. Wow. An autopsy revealed that Susan was tortured and repeatedly raped. She was then stoned to death. Christians are being persecuted and the media is silent. Guys, she's literally a 60-year-old woman, guys. Wow. She's a 60-year-old woman. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny or nasty or anything like that, but think about it like this. Who in their right mind would rape anybody at all, right? But on top of it, to have the desire to rape an elderly person, like you have to be really sick and demented in the head, guys. That's crazy. So the fact that Muslims are like willfully, you know, raping little minors and older people, it's just very odd to me because most of the cases I see of Muslims raping people, it's usually people that are either elderly or minors. I rarely see them like raping someone who's like 20 or 30 or something like that. They usually like the little kids or they like them when they're really old. They get some weird kind of perverted satisfaction from that. And then to make it worse, guys, I mean, like the Armenian genocide is so sad because like you'll see like Pope Francis, you'll see Prince Charles, they're showing their condolences and support. Where's your condolences and support? You can do a lot of talking, right? Because I'm just a content creator, guys, right? But these are people that have like, I mean, trillions of dollars. They have, I mean, millions and billions of people under their influence. And they just sit there and say, our condolences. And then everyone's like, oh, you're good, bro. You support us. No, they don't, guys. If they truly supported us, why aren't they sending military to help us? Because there's no money. There's no political gain in helping Armenia or the Middle East. There's no gain whatsoever, guys. These lands belong to the Christians. They do not belong to the Muslims. So don't ever let Muslims fool you into thinking the Middle East is a Islamic world. Now it is, because they persecuted and they committed mass genocides of our Christian brethren in Christ. But it wasn't always Muslim, guys. These are our stolen lands by the Muslims. The Muslims stolen our lands. They stole our lands, guys. So all those beautiful nations that were once beautiful, and they have all this beautiful architecture and history and ancient, things about it, it was all stolen by the modern day Muslims. So don't ever let Muslims lie to you and tell you that they're the persecuted religion. Don't ever let them call you Islamophobic or say that, they're having mass genocides in Palestine, because that's far from the reality, guys. What about persecuted Christians? I hope this video was edifying for you guys, that you guys were able to learn from something. If you guys were able to, please smash the like button, share it with someone that you believe could learn from this. And I thank you guys so much for watching. And if you also do want to financially support me as well, the links will be below. And I appreciate all your support, guys. Thank you guys for subscribing, turning on notifications, and God bless you guys.